Even in the rain, the fire's still on.
The fire's
so
still
don't mess
on.
with it.
The fire's still on.
One piece of advice, and it's very simple. Stay true to who you are. You know, don't change your belief to chase the money. You know, oftentimes we change our belief, and it starts with a little tweak. It starts with a little tweak.
Yes.
But then that little tweak gets tweaked even more, and we're gonna try to fit into this box to get this money and to get this relationship. You know, you gotta be true to yourself.
Wakanda forever. You already know how we do it. What's up, boss? What's up? How you doing?
What's up? What's up, man?
How you doing?
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Where we at? Where we at?
We're at the Rochester, 3949 Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. It's the newest mixed income market rate project on the east side of Kansas City.
Mixed income. Wow.
Mixed income. Market rate. So it has that new smell, if you will.
I can smell it. I can smell it. I didn't know that this existed. Is this here? It's like a whole hotel.
Thank you. That's a compliment to us. It's here. It's 64 units of 1 and 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
Rent ranges from about $1,100 up to about $1,850.
$1,100.
$1,100 for our smallest one bedroom.
18. Wow. So 18 is like almost like the max.
18 is the max. That's our
For
penthouse.
this, wow, for this space?
Yes. Yes.
What?
Yes.
And
yes.
this is, CBD, Community Computers owns this place?
Community Builders of Kansas City owns and developed it, along with the entire campus that you're on here. So welcome not only to the Rochester, but to our entire campus.
Thank you. This is beautiful. I'm excited to tour and see more of the space.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hey, what's up, good people? Welcome to the City Entrepreneur Show, a talk show that highlights up-and-coming local legends and founders who dare to take a chance on their vision, even when the odds are stacked against them. I'm your host, Ezekiel Nganga, and today, as usual, I bring the best guests in KC, people who are making things happen on the street. And I'm so excited for my guests. I am always, because I bring the dopest people on here. So today, my guest has been featured on numerous news platforms, KC Business Journal, among many others. He's an entrepreneur, he's an investor, he's a mentor, a community builder. You can say he is rooted in KC. Like when I say rooted, like we've had 2 people come in like, yo, I gotta meet up with you, I gotta chat with you right on the scene. So he is the CEO of Community Builders of Kansas City, and he's a board member at BCF. Help me make welcome the one and only Emmet Pierson.
Thank you so much, Zeke.
Welcome
Thanks for
to the
being
show.
back, man.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you for
having
coming
me.
back. Thank you for coming back.
Anytime.
How things been?
Things have been very good. Busy, but good. Since we last chatted.
Yeah, 2020. How was that for you?
2020, we made it through COVID, and COVID is still around.
Yes.
But we made it through COVID. A couple projects got built, as we talked about. So, we weathered the storm, and we are now looking to create more storms.
Yes. Again, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you. Always an honor to have you. But for those who don't know who Emmet is, give us a bit of background of kind of, how you are, like where you started and kind of where you are today.
Sure. So I'm a Kansas City kid. I grew up at 52nd in Brooklyn, in the great Blue Hills neighborhood. Had a pretty great education. My mom sacrificed for me to have a great start in life.
Yes.
And, University of Kansas, go Jayhawks.
Yeah, go Jayhawks. I don't know. There's a game coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow, they're going to do the thing tomorrow. And so from, finishing up at KU, I worked in nonprofits, primarily centered around urban economic development. And so now I run the largest minority-led community development corporation, or CDC, in the Midwest region, where we're doing great work, both brick and mortar work, but also grassroots community organizing work as well.
Yes, I see your hand in all the good things happening in KC. In so many places, it's just like, I go on the website and like, who's on the board? Emmet Pierson's on there. I'm like, of course he's on there. I'm just humbled for you to be in KC. It's just an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
But let's go back like a lot more. Like, who was Emmet in high school? I know no one probably has asked you the question. Who was Emmet in high school?
In high school, I was a kid that was so athletic. I was trying to find out where I fit in. I was a city kid. going to a private school,
Okay.
and trying to mesh the two between, city kid, and a bunch of my friends were, Mission Hills,
Okay.
Johnson County,
Okay.
upper crust, if you will.
Okay. Okay.
So really trying to figure out, where I fit in. And so that's where it kind of started. But, at the heart of it, my mom and my grandmother grounded me in knowing who I was.
Yes.
Even though I was trying to fit in and see where I fit, I always knew I was a, black man that had some ideas on how community should run. And now I'm able to pursue those passions, both at Community Builders, but also as the chair of the Black Community Fund, which is a large, affiliate of the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation.
Yes.
That's rooted in, making the socioeconomic life of Black folk better in 5 counties around metropolitan Kansas City.
So fast forward college.
Yes.
What major did you, like the major you had in college, is it what you're doing now, or what was?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
My major in college was human biology and microbiology.
Wow, okay.
And now I'm in real estate, economic development, community organizing, if you will. So not even remotely close. Now I know UMKC, for one, has, several disciplines around urban development.
Yes.
That was not a thing, and I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was, but that wasn't a thing when I was in college.
Yes.
And so now someone had the foresight to say, how do we begin to get our next generation or generations able to, get a degree
Exactly.
in how to move community? So, I wish I would have had the opportunity
Yes.
to, to do urban economic development. So I was kind of a science geek.
Yeah, yeah.
I
remember the last year we had, I was so what, you were a biology student? Like, how that doesn't make any sense. I was.
Hey, it just shows that the path that you think you're on may not be the path that you ultimately end up following.
True.
So, follow your passions.
Yes.
And do what makes you happy. And so I'm doing that now. But no, my college career had nothing to do with what I'm doing now.
Wow. I mean, same here. Same with all the entrepreneurs that I know. It's like you do something else, but you know your heart is in something else.
Yeah.
And I think there's always a big shift and also a risk from what you were then in college to what you want to do. Was that easy for you to do that transition, or was it hard?
It was easy because I was still learning. I got into this field because I had a brother-in-law that said, I got something for you. Because I was like, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so as it turns out, he was working with the city of Kansas, Missouri through their public lender and funding projects with mixed income financing. And so many of those projects were projects that were difficult to do. And it kind of stuck, starting at 4 hours a day and then 8 hours a day. Then I had my own cubicle. And it just really, it took off from there.
Yeah.
And then a guy by the name of Don Maxwell Sr. Came to me and said, come work for me as I try to build what's now known as the Linwood Prospect Corridor. And that was really the fire that stoked me down this path of where I am now.
Yeah.
As far as entrepreneurship, I didn't know what that was growing up or in high school, even in college. My mom was a teacher.
Okay.
So we had traditional, folks, my family had traditional, roles, if you will.
Yeah.
Nobody in my block other than Mr. Ward, who, was an old Sears mechanic, and he would, dabble in various ventures. Entrepreneurship was not a thing like it is now, where Kansas City, oftentimes is referred to as a great place for startups.
Exactly, yeah.
I didn't see that growing up. I kind of fell into it again through Don Maxwell and the various ventures that nonprofit was creating, primarily to provide, brothers and sisters jobs, opportunities after they've been incarcerated, looking at unmet needs for goods and services and creating a company to address those. That's when I got to see what entrepreneur looks like. But I was, 22, 24, somewhere in there. That was my first taste entrepreneurship. And then as I, kept on growing in my career, then I saw a little bit more. And then I saw how lack of access to capital for people of color and how that really affects not only them, but also,
Trickles
Black
down.
and brown entrepreneurs and access to capital there. So, that came later in life. It really did.
So much like you as well, my mom was a teacher as well. The word entrepreneurship wasn't, I'm Nigerian, so like the entrepreneurship was not even a word. It was more of a scrappy, like someone who was scrappy, who just like puts it together, like they always
Someone
do
who
something. Hustles. Like they just do something. They know, they do something, you don't know what they do, but it's, they're making money, right?
Yeah.
So for you going to entrepreneurship, what was your personal experience with entrepreneurship? Like you ventured into something you actually wanted to do and then go into that. What was that for you?
So for me, it came late. It came when I was 40 years old.
Okay.
When I was in the nonprofit world, quite candidly, I didn't get the next step of promotion that I thought I should have gotten. There were no more lateral moves to be made. So at 40 years old, I left and started my own company, North 40 Development, doing consulting along urban economic development and, political consulting, getting projects through municipalities that, were difficult to get through.
Yes.
That was my first, sign or foot into my own personal entrepreneurship. And, for the first 3-4 years, it was rough. Contracts I had, but wasn't really making money. And, it wasn't really until that 5th year where I started to make a few nickels.
Wow. And
then it took off. But, it was many times at the kitchen table that I was like, maybe this isn't for me. Talked over my wife, and she, was tremendously supportive. So you got to have folk that believe in your vision, your passion, your dreams.
True.
To make it happen. But, the struggle was real. The struggle was real.
I wanted to touch a bit more about patience, because you said you were you started your company at 40 years old.
Yes.
Talk about expectations and get into what you expect and when it happens.
Yeah, so my expectations were when I left where I am now. So I left Community Builders.
Okay.
And my expectation was that all these folks that I had helped over my career with, Community Development Corporation of Kansas City, with Community Builders of Kansas City, I built all this network, this Rolodex, all of this social capital.
Yes.
And so when I left, the phone didn't ring.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, wait a minute, all these people I helped.
Wow.
Some of them wouldn't even take my call. And so that was an eye-opening experience, and it was humbling. And so I had to pause and say, okay, you can't rely on just your relationships. What is your game gonna be? How you gonna muscle up, sit down, really come up with a business plan, not just have a dream or a hobby, because your hobby, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
How do I begin to help feed my family? Even though, my wife is a physician, that's her. She's doing her thing.
Yes.
And so it was not only humbling as someone who I thought had had success in their previous career.
Yes.
It was humbling as a man, but it was more humbling as an African-American man that was trying to make it. And so there was some soul searching.
Yes.
There was some.
Who did you have to call to get that? Who did you call to get to that next level, like business plan?
I went back to Mr. Donald Maxwell. I went back to, rest his soul, Chuck Gatson. I went back to my brother-in-law that gave me my first opportunity.
Yes.
I had a host of folk. I went to some folk that I, went to high school with that were still part of the upper crust, and they gave me some advice. So really, I talked to my young children because, I'm at home trying to do this thing, and hey, I'm in the middle of something. And say, how is it going to work? What do you all want to see Dad, be better at, or to be a better father? So I had a conversation not only with business-related folk, but my family inside to make sure that this is truly what we're going to still keep pursuing. And then, same Mr. Maxwell gave me my first big contract, and then it just kind of rolled after that. So, but again, it was a very humbling experience. But I kept knowing that this is going to turn.
Yeah. Talk to us about that 5 years. That 5 years in the dirt, digging it up, trying to make it happen. Talk to us about that 5 years.
It was stressful for me. It was stressful for my family because, I'm trying to get capital on the business and trying to grow the business. I'm having to, look at, possibly putting our house up. Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Cutting back on the vacations.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm not going to say I was starving, but again, being an African-American, male and trying not to get caught up in, you need to be the breadwinner. You need, and I'm like, let that stuff go and focus on how we're going to grow this ideal of what you've been doing for the past 15 years. How are you going to grow that to where it's making money for you? And so the 5 years was a little lean.
What did you learn in 5 years, would you say?
That I'm not as a bad motherfucker as I thought I was.
It really hit you. It really hit you.
The reality hit me.
Yeah.
But I tempered that and said, not now. I didn't never lose sight that I still
had the bigger picture in there.
I got a bigger picture.
Yeah.
But just right now, we're not rolling like we really need to be rolling. So we need to humble ourselves and, reevaluate timing and project timelines.
Yes. I think it's really cool to learn that because as an entrepreneurs who see you now who is successful, they're like, if I get in there 1 year, I'm gonna make it. Like hearing you say 5 years.
Hey, it was 5 years for me. And the fourth year, some things came to roll in and that kind of let me begin to move toward that fifth year. But it really was a situation where I'm getting ready to have to go get a job. I'm gonna have to go back, and work. And, I need to get reaccustomed with that. At the same time, we had kids that I was, they were heavily into sports and, I think as I had a daughter that played Division I soccer. I mean, so it allowed me to spend a lot more time with my girls.
Yes.
But that fifth year, had it not jumped off, I might have been working with somebody. Might have been working for the man. I don't know.
Wow. Dang. I feel like it's a teaching experience just learning that. Because most times as a young person, I'm always looking at the big picture. I wanted to get there today.
See, that's your generation. I want it now.
Yeah.
Instant gratification.
Yes. Microwave. Pow.
I mean, we get instant feedback. Twitter.
You know how
Instagram.
people feel about you immediately.
So that's what the younger generation is used to. For me, and I'm not that old, but I'm older. It's more of a slow roll.
I ain't gonna do the Kevin Hart thing. Have you watched the Kevin Hart thing with Don Cheeto? Have you watched that?
No, I have not. No,
never worry. But don't worry about it.
No,
I didn't even bring it up.
I would say, mine's a little bit more slow roll.
Yes.
And so that helped. Patience, prayer. That helped. Folk that believed in me and said, keep pursuing it.
Yes.
It's gonna come. So that was the difference for me. Now I'm an entrepreneur in a different kind of way, if you will.
Yes.
We are supporting through our nonprofit, Black and brown entrepreneurs, and then through my other work in other charitable organizations like the Black Community Fund.
Yes.
We're really focusing on Black-led, Black-serving organizations and entrepreneurs. That journey has evolved to where it's not about me and what I need. It's now about how can I take my skill sets and talents for the larger community. And so the entrepreneurship has kind of shifted a little bit than what it was.
I heard Simon Sinek say something. He said that most athletes, like most, the basketball or tennis players, they get to a point where they get depressed because they have this ideal of, when I get this cup or championship, I'm going to be this or that. And when they get there, they don't feel as much as what they expected. But it's actually not going for one thing, but actually seeing how can you help another person?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the value you're giving to someone else? With that being said, my question to you is, what was the thing that you wanted to solve? What was the problem that you saw that you say, hey, we need to have a solution for this that doesn't exist?
It's a great question. I don't know if I can narrow it down to one thing.
Yeah, it has more than one thing, series of things.
For me, it was how do I begin the journey of working with others to look at a bigger issue? And that bigger issue, for me, it was access to capital. Yeah. I think, money's like air. Try to live without it. And so you can have a great idea all day long, but if you don't have resources and capital, it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. And so that's so important because, with capital, I can buy capacity. I may not have capacity, but I can buy capacity. I can buy consultants. So that was one. So it was one, how do we begin to work together? And then how do we begin to look at access to capital? What does that look like? And how can it be deployed? And I'm still on that kick right now.
Yeah. How does one even go about becoming an investor? Like, how did that start for you? What is the step-by-step to get to where you are today?
It was an accident. And really it was, again, go back to my earlier comment about unmet needs for goods and services, services. So, while we may not be Silicon Valley, and I'm going to put both hats on, one with Community Builders of Kansas City, but also with the Black Community Fund, we saw that there was a need to support one and further support incremental developers like a Terrell Jolly, like a Terrell Davis, like a Willie Lanier Jr. How do we begin to support those, Asia Morris, for example? How do we begin to support those individuals? And they were all doing their own thing. They had their own grind going. But as a organization that has a few nickels, how can we peel away a little bit of ours to help them? How do we begin to not make them have to jump through all the hoops to get resources? That was one. And then from the Black Community Fund standpoint, we've been around for 40 years, but it was time for us to do things differently, to not just fund the safe, traditional, we're going to fund education and scholarships. How do we begin to really say, and it really took the murder of George Floyd to really bring this to the forefront, but we're going to support with more dollars going to our corpus to support Black and brown led serving organizations. Some of them may not have had the longevity as the foundation world of philanthropic or philanthropy would like. I mean, so on one hand, it was on the community business side, it was looking at how do we help, other folk trying to do things that we're doing on a smaller scale. But with regards to the Black Community Fund, it was how do we lift up and not have Black and brown leaders go through what they often have to go through when we talk about traditional philanthropy. And because we understand and we know that, Black-led organizations oftentimes are funded less than their majority counterpart nonprofits doing the exact same work. So, we said, let's put our money where our mouth is. We did that. We filled that gap.
Wow.
All right, so another part of the building. This is the nest.
Okay.
So this is kind of the focal point of the building, and we wanted to make sure that we had a space that was unique. But also, since we are on the east side of Kansas City, we want to make sure that we have a roof deck. The roof deck has, it's a bad day out there. The weather's not cooperating, but all the window panes open all the way up. We have the fire pit. We have great views. We have all the TV, so this would be a great place to have as NCAA tournament, March Madness. We'll be up here hanging out.
It's like a whole date night kind of vibe. Got a whole private VIP areas.
You do.
So my question is, what was the vision and goal? Because I know you own most of the properties in this whole plaza.
We do.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so this is special not only to our campus, but to me. The Rochester is named after an individual, the legendary leader of community builders, who passed away probably about 7-8 years ago. And his first name was Rochester. He didn't like it. And so that was my nickname for him, because he would always sign his name R. Charles Gatson. And very few people knew what the R stood for. It's Rochester. So we would walk past this vacant piece of land, and I'd say, Rochester, we're going to do something. And so as a tribute to him, it's called the Rochester. And I think it embodies all the things he stood for: excellence, housing, making sure that everything that other communities have, we have it here as well. And so we really have spared no expense here to make that a reality.
Yeah, and I know for me as a Black young man looking at this whole plaza, like, it gives me so much, because I'm like, I know who owns this place. Like, I know, like, it's Black owned. And I know that and that's kind of why I wanted us to come here, so that people can actually see what's going on. Because I feel like no one really knows where this is at or what's going on.
You're right. We are the hidden gem in the heart of the city. We've been here over 33 years.
Wow.
Doing development in this, what's called the Brush Creek Corridor.
Wow.
And so this is just another project that we have completed.
Okay. I mean, this is beautiful. It's an honor for you to be having us in this space.
Love having
and kind of showcasing what the beauty of the inside looks like. Because on the outside, it's just magnificent. And it's on the inside, it's like Black art everywhere, which is such a beauty. Thank you again, Emmett. And then I know that our viewers, because you say there's more spaces in this apartment for people to be able to actually come in.
That's correct. Hey, I am not all the way full yet.
Yes.
So we still have some 1 and 2 bedrooms available.
Okay.
So reach out, come take a tour. You go to the website, www.therochester.com, and hit us up.
Rochester, pull up. I know when it comes to the funding space, investing space, nonprofit space, I feel that there has to be some gatekeepers that are holding things back. For you, being in this investing space, especially in the Black community, what do you think about gatekeepers? Do they exist, or is that a thing?
There's always gatekeepers.
Yes.
There's always gatekeepers.
Yes.
Is it the gatekeeper that is a barrier? And is it 1 or 2 people? No. In my experience, it's been the gatekeepers are folk who have a stagnant perception of underserved communities that are not investment worthy. There is not enough IRR or return on their investment. And so that hampers oftentimes funders and investors for looking at folk who are doing things in the underserved community. That's always gonna be my lens. I'm not talking about a lens, if you are an IT company in Johnson County. My lens is, because that's where I grew up, my lens is what's happening in the underserved community that's primarily 95% African Americans. And on my brown brothers on the west side, same thing there. So I won't say it's a 1 or 2 gatekeepers. It's the overall, it's the mindset that's the gatekeeper. It's the perception that's the gatekeeper. It's the not knowing and doing business with somebody that I'm not comfortable with, that I don't go to church with, that I don't go to soccer practice with my kids, that I don't socialize and go down to the Monarch Bar or Ocean Prime or Prime Social.
Yeah.
You do business you're comfortable with. You're not comfortable with me if you never see me, if you never interact with me.
True.
So I won't say that it's gatekeepers as traditionally thinking about.
Yeah,
but it's the overall conceptual framework of gatekeeping.
How do you, when you are in a room with people with that type of mindset, how do you come at them or convince them otherwise? What do you, let's say you were, from your experience, and someone else who has not been in the same space, wants to get into that space of being able to convince someone otherwise of what they would rather think, what are the things you would say?
So it helps that I have almost all of my life been the only one in a room. From my grade school, to We were outnumbered. I don't want to say it like that. There were more
yes.
Of the majority folk at Rockhurst than it was minority. At the University of Kansas, we were at that time 2% of 30,000 folk. Oftentimes in the developer space that I'm in, let's say development, I'm oftentimes the only one or one of two. So that helps. So I'm very comfortable in that space. I'm a very confident dude. So I'm going to walk up to you and say, hey, Zeke, we have this project we're working on. Here's the parameters by which we think it makes sense and a good investment. But also being okay with we might have to do this on our own. I can't rely on you to do what needs to be done in the communities that I serve and represent. I want you to be a part of it.
But we can do without you.
I may have to go going alone.
Yeah.
I was talking to another podcast or another interview, and I was the moderator for UMKC last Friday, their real estate symposium, and I made the comment about in our 33 years at Community Builders, we've only had one individual investor to our nonprofit in those years. And it was someone who read an article about us in the Kansas City Star, and they saw what we were doing, and they sent us $100,000 worth of Apple stock through their broker.
Wow.
So, other than tax credit investors on our low-income housing tax credit projects, we typically don't get, the type of investing or venture capital, if you will.
Venture capital, yeah.
That you typically hear about.
Yeah.
One of the people that came up to me was Kevin McGinnis, and he's doing fantastic work with the Keystone Innovation Project. People are knocking on his door to come invest. They're not even blowing a kiss at me. And that's fine. We've been able to do a significant amount of invested on the east side of Kansas City with very little resources. Banks will come after we, jump through all the hoops and, pass all the smell tests and all that good stuff. And we show that we have a put together, pro forma, but, that's pulling teeth.
Yeah.
So it's okay sometimes being, comfortable doing it alone and being uncomfortable going alone. That's okay.
I definitely hear you there, because I feel like there is always like this shift of like, I don't understand what you're doing, so I'm not going to get into it. Like, I don't know, it doesn't benefit me or anyone that I know, so I might not jump into it, right?
Right. I don't know what you're doing, but it doesn't immediately enter my space or my realm, so why should I?
Why should I? Yeah.
Why should I? It doesn't necessarily enter into what makes Kansas City as a whole better or one. I remember the Chamber of Commerce had a campaign, we're one Kansas City. Sometimes. We're one Kansas City when Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs win.
Yeah.
We're one Kansas City then. And then we go back to our silos, oftentimes.
Which is a sad thing, too.
It's a sad thing.
Yeah.
But that's Kansas City for the most part through my eyes. There were people who would take exception to that. But through my eyes, that's what I see.
Yeah, and I do hear you, because I know that there are people who are going to be on the side like, hey, it's working for me, or Kansas City is one because of where I live. Everyone around me is one, right? But then once you cross different silos of the city, you see there are different ways people react to certain things, right?
Yeah, you have a large following. So let me just ask the question. So Kansas City, an entrepreneur, and we hear all the time, it's a great place to be an entrepreneur. Who's tracking, from a data standpoint, how many startups were started on the east side of Kansas City? How much has been invested, rather it be through traditional banks, rather it's through philanthropy, rather it's through CDFIs, community development financial institutions, east of Truce. See, Truce is now the new hot spot. Let's go on the east side of that sidewalk, going all the way back to 435. who's tracking that data? Is it Mid-America Regional Council? Is it the Kauffman Foundation? I mean, since we are, the city of entrepreneurship, is it the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City? Is it the city of Kansas City, Missouri? Who's tracking that data? Where can I go and say, last year, how many businesses were started on the east side of Kansas City? How many businesses were started on the east side that were Black and brown? How much was generated from the startup of those businesses? How many people did we employ? How much taxes they pay? I mean, that's the data that I hear and see all the time for Kansas City. All right, so I want to break that down now. Again, my lens, very biased. My lens is, Black and brown, east side. Who has that data? Because I'm still searching for it.
In that perspective, you feel like as an entrepreneur, you almost have to leave past the truce line to get investment.
I'm going to say, it's definitely more difficult. Cost of money is more expensive.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
Yes.
And so, again, I hear it. I'm just asking the question, who has the data?
Show us the data.
Show me the data.
Yeah.
Because I see all the articles all the time. I'm just asking, where is it? Who's doing it?
Dang, yeah. Well, they're watching. That's what we're doing. Because I feel like when it comes to, I've lived on the east side, most of my college graduate and all that. And I feel like when it comes to that entrepreneurship and that whole, Kansas City being the city of entrepreneurs, is it's lacking on that side. How can we get that on that side? And which is what BCF is doing, trying to be able to build that side of the city.
Yes.
Which is really where the hustlers and the bustlers are at. But it's when you go into those places, you don't really see the things that need to be in place.
Yeah, I mean,
the structures.
Right. I mean, I would say who's killing the game is Gift, generating income for tomorrow with Brandon Calloway and all of his colleagues. They're killing the game. Okay. Yes, they're doing it. And, they're right on prospect.
Right on prospect, yep.
But I want to know, when we start up businesses, who's tracking how many are created in the areas that Brandon is, in fact, supporting? I'm just asking that question out loud.
And we're going to get an answer, hopefully. Because I know they're watching us right now.
Absolutely.
So shifting gears a little bit, because I know that we pretty much talking about the struggles and kind of when it comes to raising fund, what is specifically being in KC? Because I know we're talking about this mindset of not knowing or being I don't know much about that, I'm not going to invest it. What are the main challenges that you think or face, especially you as an investor, you as someone who's raising fund for the Black community?
So it's getting into doors that historically have been closed. Getting those relationships to open those doors. Having folk in those organizations talk about the Black Community Fund or Community Builds of Kansas City when they're not in the room, when I'm not in front of them. Who's talking about you when you're not in the room? That's where real money gets to be talked about.
True.
But it's really being able to find a way to get relationships, to get to folk who typically are ungettable, if you will. I think that's a huge challenge. The Sunderland Foundation gave the Black Community Fund a $500,000 investment. That was the second largest investment in our 40-year history. But that started with a relationship. It started with the Sunderland children in the Hadley Project talking to me about, what happened and what was happening with Community Builds of Kansas City. And I took the opportunity to say, hey, well, I got this other hat I'm wearing. And they asked for a follow-up conversation. But it really was, a conversation initially by Denise St. Omer of the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation. She's a sister down there doing phenomenal work that really talked us up to the children, the Sunderland children. And they, so, it was a relationship there. So, how do we get into those doors that typically are closed.
How do we get into those doors that typically close? How do we even get in? That's a really good question. But what do you think? How do we get into those doors?
I think it starts by continuing to do good work. Do good work. Support those folk like a Terrell Jolly. Support those individuals. And so their works begin to talk about how, in fact, to expand their efforts. Yes. If you do good work, you'll get noticed. If you have a great idea and some passion and a little bit of stick-to-itness, you'll get noticed. But really, it really is, getting to those folk in Kansas City that control resources. Okay.
My question is this. From perspective of you being the investment guy, if I in terms of investment in Black community, how do we get to have 10 Emmet Piersons?
So we just talked about this probably yesterday at a lunch. I fell into this by accident, but we have to be intentional about bringing our next generation thoughtfully onto our boards, onto our service committees, onto, begin to get them prepared to be leaders in the community, be the next generation of leaders. And so I think that has been intentional. We have to begin to look at and pull and say mentorship. And not only mentorship, but it's giving opportunities, and have them in the room when they probably shouldn't be in the room. That's why at Community Builders, I have the high schools there. And when you come shadow me for a day, you go in all the meetings I go into. Some of them you probably shouldn't be in. But that's how you learn. Yeah. That's how you learn, the behaviors on how to ask for money. Sure. When to keep your mouth shut. When to be bold. We have to start there. Yeah. We have to reach back and give a safe space and platform for our future leaders.
So when it comes to networking, when it comes to invest in funding, that all goes back to relationships that you talked about. And I know especially some people who maybe live on the east side may not have those connections. And I heard you talk about I believe you're confident in who you are. Where does that confidence come from? How can someone be confident or build confidence when they don't originally have it?
I want to answer that question, the second part, because you quickly said something about East Side and having access. I think it starts with, most of our philanthropic organizations have things, from have coffee with the program officer. Many of them are very open to having lunch, coffee, a conversation. We got to take advantage of those opportunities because that's when you learn how to speak their language, to, formulate your business plan, your strategy, your strategic planning around the buzzwords and the models that they are looking at. So take advantage of those opportunities. They say, when you get the flyer that says, meet with a Kaufman program officer, meet with the Davin Gordon of the Hall Family Foundation. Take advantage of those. That's what they're there for. And then the second part was, where's the confidence come from? Yes. For me, it came from, as I said earlier, just my mother, my grandmother. But I think if you know your craft and you know your dream, that gives you confidence. True. And confidence is exuded in different ways. My confidence may come through as a great writer. My confidence may come through as an orator. My confidence may come through, being a painter or doing, some other variation of, expression. Yes. Confidence doesn't always have to be verbally demonstrated. You can have a quiet confidence. Yes. I may lead quietly. It's better to be a kingmaker than a king. Those type of things. So confidence is not always the same to everybody.
True. So basically, when you walk in a room like you know who you are.
And you got to walk in a room like this, Wakanda forever.
Yeah.
You got to walk in,
Yes.
You got to walk in like that,
Yes.
And for our viewers that may not know, because you have a diverse file,
yes,
that may not know Wakanda forever, it's Black Panther.
It's Black Panther.
Black Panther.
T'Challa.
Yeah, T'Challa. Yeah. I mean, so I remember going into a room where it was another African-American brother in there, and I just walked in, just did a quick, real quick, undercover, and he started cracking up because he knew.
He knew what you were talking about.
He
knew what you were talking about.
So
yes.
You can have that quiet confidence if you understand the game,
yes,
and you understand where you fit and what you bring to the table to enhance the game.
Yes. Man, I mean, it's been a phenomenal episode. But before we go, I always ask this question to all my guests. What is one piece of advice that you got that has helped you come this far and has kept you going, even when things don't go the way you want them to?
I say the one piece of advice, and it's very simple: stay true to who you are. Don't change your belief to chase the money. Oftentimes we change our belief, and it starts with a little tweak. It starts with a little tweak.
Yes.
But then that little tweak gets tweaked even more, and we're going to try to fit into this box to get this money and to get this relationship. You got to be true to yourself. You got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing this the right way, and this is the way I think it, needs to be done. And of course, get reality checks from those around you that you admire, that mentor you, that inspire you. But you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I did it the right way.
Yeah. That's straight up advice, right? Like straight up life advice. You got to be uniquely you. Like there's no one like you.
Yeah, be you.
Yeah, there's no other person like you. So why try to be someone else?
I had a counsel person tell me, you just always remind us of the racial element. And, you tell us, this is what we're not doing. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I represent the community. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So you want me to say that softer? Is that, okay. Is that going to, let more resources flow? Probably not. This is how I've always been.
Yes.
I'm not going to change. We've had.
I'm going to confirm.
We've had a decent amount of success. Could we have had more success by me being quiet? Maybe. But that's not how I got here. I got here by speaking my mind, not being afraid, not worrying about someone making my payroll for me. That's freeing, but it also allows for me to be authentic. I can be my authentic self.
Yeah.
Be very respectful, but I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to not tell you the real deal because it's loud.
That's powerful. We need a mic drop. That's powerful right
That's
there.
it. That's a mic drop right there. That's Chris Rock.
Oh, have you watched your last special though?
I did.
Oof.
I did.
He came with it.
He came with it.
I was like,
he came with it.
Yeah. He came with it. I thought Dave was like good, but like went crazy.
I thought that show was very good.
Guys,
and yes, I get that he's politically not correct.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this, and this is not doing it. We as a country have got to stop being so soft.
Yeah.
It's the wussification of America. I'll leave y'all with that.
Yeah.
To ponder that.
Shoot. There's some jokes I'm like, some people are not gonna like that, but that's funny to me. I'm gonna laugh.
I laugh.
Yeah, I'm just it's just funny. But I know that I said that was my last question, but I want to ask you this.
Sure.
What is like some resources you've used in the past, either books, Spotify, podcasts, or like platforms you've used to help you?
Let me go with classic, The Art of War. It's long. Read it. That has so many, so much. The Color of Money. You know, I probably read a lot more articles around culture, trends in business. I'm a big culture guy.
The shared room?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I believe that if you have the right culture around you, a lot of stuff can happen. Yeah. You know, if you have a conducive environment for thinking, for imagination. So I'm probably more into the articles, Harvard Business Review. You know, I mean, I'm a sucker for that. I had to break down and get a membership. You know, podcast, not so much. You know, I'm kind of showing my age a little bit.
What music you playing right now? Who you bumping to?
I just came down here on Lizzo.
Ooh, okay. You with it. You with it.
I just came down.
You with it.
About damn time.
You with it. Okay.
That says all I need to say. I mean, so I just came here on Lizzo.
You with it. Okay.
You know, so yeah. I also have young daughters. I have a 23 and a 21-year-old daughter.
Okay. So you got speakers bumping in the room.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
so, And then, you know, my wife is a pediatrician.
Okay.
So she knows all the music, you know, but she's also has I'm typically R&B, a little bit of rap, some jazz, you know, but my wife is Garth Brooks, Lizzo.
Okay.
You know, she has a far gospel. She has a far wider, but you know,
Yeah, you true with the community. Yeah, you got some Lisa bumping in the car coming right through.
Coming down. Yeah. As I was already late. So I was rolling down 71 about 65 with Lizzo. You know.
Oh man, thank you so much, Emmet, for coming on this show.
I got tickets to the Beyonce.
Oh, the Queen is the Queen Bee. Queen Bee. Okay.
We're trying to get her to come to my wife's. She has a nonprofit called Mo Hives, Kansas City. Okay. And she has apiaries, so she puts beehives on vacant land.
Ooh, the Queen Bee gotta be there.
The Queen Bee
gotta be there with the hives. That's how the yin to yang. That's how
I'm not gonna you know, leave my job. I ain't down with the bee just like that. Just yet. Hold on, you know.
But anyways, thank you so much, Emmet, for coming on the show.
Hey, love it, man. Anytime.
Thank you so much. But also, I want to ask you, how can people get in contact with you, BCF, CBKC?
Yeah, so my email is epierson, Pierson, at cb-kc.org. And then you can go to blackcommunityfund.org. Natika is our executive director. She's fantastic. So
shout out to Natika.
Shout out to Natika. Absolutely.
She's the one. If you're watching right here, Natika, all love. Wakanda forever. You already know how we do it. But thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the show. For those who watch from home, thank you for tuning in today. It's been another City Entrepreneur Show. As you know, subscribe, share, let people know, and never give up. Stay fired up. It's your host Zeke Wanganga, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now. It's a rainy day, so we're out here
in the rain. But it's for a great cause.
I love it.
Got the fire pit working.
Yeah, even in the rain, the fire's still on.
The fire's still on.
So don't mess with it.
The fire's still on. So we're out here just having fun, everybody. So Zeke, only for you on a Saturday afternoon in the rain would I come out here. Only for you would I do this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that.
So you see I'm casual today. Community building.
Yes.
Got the fresh J's on.
Hey, gotta let them know. So, and we got them matching too with the blue.
Absolutely.
You already know. So thank you for having us, man. This is a beautiful space.
Thank you for coming.
To see how our city's entrepreneurs do what they do, tune in to City Entrepreneur on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Episodes drop every Thursday.